Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're broadcasting from the world's famous Serenolo's Restaurante Italiano right here in the heart of Wheeling, located on the corner of Milwaukee Avenue and Lake Cook Road, Milwaukee Avenue, Restaurant Road. This is the Rewind Sports 60, our Chicago Bears post-game podcast from Serenolo's. I'm Jerry Riles, and let's get right to the panel. He's the one. He's the only. He is the best in the business, ladies and gentlemen. He's known as DC, the Italian Stallion. He's Danny Carlino. What's up, Danny?
Good afternoon, Jerry. Good to be with you once again. And, when you win games in your division, good things happen. And when you win games at home, good things happen. And what are they, 7-1 at home?
Yes, they are.
And guaranteed a winning record in the division. So, do a little math. 1 + 1 equals division champions today for the Bears.
There you go. Our Chicago Bears post-game podcast here at Serenolo's. Danny Carlino, and, of course, on our TRS60 hotline, he's the one. He's the only. He's Kelly Lee Williams! What's up, Kelly?
Oh, my God, did that just happen? Did we just witness the Bears winning the NFC North division this year?
We just witnessed it, Kelly.
Right?
Unbelievable. The first time since 2010, 8 years, the last time the Bears and the fans in the city had an opportunity to taste a division victory. And we finally, after so many years of disappointment, after so many years of letdown, after so many years of just poor coaching, poor performance, we finally get a coach in his first year. We finally get some key players. We finally keep our defensive coordinator, who has really sparked this team defensively as well as collectively, and we finally come away with the NFC North Division champion title, and we're looking forward to the playoffs. It feels so good, so electrifying. Chicago, we're back on the mats, guys, and I don't know where we start with this football game. I predicted to some friends of ours yesterday, as a matter of fact. They're from the Indiana area. They're big Packer fans, and they asked me what I thought the outcome was going to be. I said, I believe it's going to be a tough game, a close game, an exciting game, but I think our Bears will prevail and win this thing by a score of 24-21. I said they will get to Aaron Rodgers, and they will come up with an INT, and everything that I projected to those guys came to life, and the Chicago Bears are going to the playoffs. Let's start with you first, Danny Carlino. What was your thoughts? What are your reaction to everything that's unfolded? Matt Nagy, first-year coach, the first time 10 victories since George Papa Bear Hallis did it way back in 1920. What are your thoughts on this football team and where we're going?
Well, I'd say he had a little bit harder time because it's easier when you're the owner. You can get whatever players you want, right? There are a few less teams to deal with back in the 20s, I'm afraid, as well. Although the Packers were still one of them. But you never know how the season's gonna play out. Questions abound with lack of opportunities in the preseason. Can't really judge what the team is worth. You get your most impactful defensive player after your last preseason game, so you don't know what that's going to mean. And he had no preseason at all, so you couldn't even say, well, he was doing well with the Raiders during preseason. He got dealt. He wasn't anywhere. So there was hope and there was promise, but I don't think you could. Even people who predicted it probably predicted it with kind of like fingers crossed in the back, one finger crossed saying like in case it doesn't happen, another finger crossed and hope it happens. So I don't think anyone, other than maybe Matt Nagy and the people in that room, people up in Lake Forest, could have really thought this would happen, and even they probably have to pinch themselves a little bit as they put on their hats and T-shirts after the game today.
Unbelievable. They're partying over at the Soldier Field over on the lakefront, Kelly Lee Williams, and it's so interesting. It's an exciting day. Charles Leno Jr., the offensive lineman for the Chicago Bears, at the end of the game, midfield, right there on the seat, proposed to his longtime girlfriend. What a way to cap things off.
See, I didn't like it when that guy, I forgot who it was with the Astros, did it after they won the World Series last year. And what was it? The Boise State kid a few years ago proposing to the was it one of the cheerleaders?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, congratulations to you, but I'm not a big fan of that. But anyway, I guess keep the party rolling, right?
Hey, Kelly, party's rolling in Chicago, Soldier Field. Your thoughts?
I completely agree with Danny Carlino about proposing marriage after a big win. I really hope that one day we see "Will you marry me?" and the girl go, "Hell no!" and just run away from the dude, because this needs to end.
Why?
Well, she should.
It's ridiculous. You know how much pressure is put on that woman? How much pressure is put on that woman to say yes in front of all those people at that specific time. If she says no, she's getting booed. She's going to be like torn apart on social media. Not cool. It ain't cool, man.
What she should have done is like, you just got the playoffs. You haven't done nothing yet.
Right.
Kelly, come on now. Listen, Danny, I mean, they're dating. It's his girlfriend, longtime girlfriend.
Well, take her out to eat first.
He's
Giving her the pregame buffet. Come on, that's not fair.
He's certainly going to be taking out to eat tonight for sure, and probably the rest of the week. That's for sure. I don't really have a problem with it. It's not a big deal for me. I personally wouldn't do anything like that.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't do anything like that because you're smart. Because you know you might get embarrassed up in that biatch. No, I don't think so. No.
And you know the woman you married wouldn't go for it either.
Yeah, you got that right. She kicked me in the.
I was going to say that, but I'll let you do
it. I'll be down on the ground.
You left yourself prone, sir.
Yeah, exactly. But the Chicago Bears, again, winners over
the Green Bay Packers, baby. Unbelievable.
And Rodgers.
Nobody.
Go ahead.
Nobody saw this coming. Nobody. Not you, not me, not Danny, not anybody. And that's what makes it so sweet.
When you say no one saw that coming, saw what coming?
The NFC, the North Division title coming. And nobody saw it coming, getting it against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Nobody could have predicted this year like this. No way. Because we had no idea about the quarterback. We had some. Only thing we knew about was the defense was top 10. Defense was good. We had no idea how the offense was going to come out. And then they came out with the gangbusters, man. They did what they're now they're 10-4. 10-4, good buddy. They won the division first time since 2010. We've waited for this for 8 years. Oh man, it's just so sweet.
You know,
Sweetness, baby.
And you know, it's funny because that division, when you look at it from 8 years ago, almost kind of doesn't count because of the way it ended. If you had lost to anyone else besides the Packers, it would have been a different story. But to have despite winning the division, losing at home in the NFC Championship game to the Packers, and then the Cutler on the bike and all that other stuff that came after that, it almost was like it didn't even happen.
Yeah. What you said? Who? Number Suckler. I don't know anybody named Nate Suckler. What are you talking about?
Number 6 riding the exercise bike with a cigarette in his mouth. You know that guy.
No, sorry. Does not compute.
You're a quart low. Okay, but and things that you plan, you try, you acquire players that think, and you put in a game plan you think is going to work, and you get the quarterback and the coach who try to see eye to eye as best they can. And Matt Nagy, as a former quarterback at various levels of this game, seeing what he thinks is going to work and how he's going to play that through the instrument that is Mitchell Trubisky. And like I said, you can plan all you want, but pen to paper is good. But when the rubber meets the road is when, and you got somebody in another uniform trying to knock your head off is another story. So you can't predict how this is going to happen. And other things broke right too. I mean, you looked at Minnesota. Oh, they got the NFC Championship game last year. They set the hell with our 3 quarterbacks we had in tow. We got them out of here. Maybe not to hurt anybody's feelings, picking one over the other. We're going to pay a whole pile of money to somebody else. And that.
Somebody else who wasn't worth it. This guy. There's no way that Kirk Cousins should have got all that money.
No. I completely agree. I mean, it's a little bit of hindsight. It's a little bit of foresight and a little bit of hindsight because he started off pretty well. But then when push came to shove, and especially in that game, that Sunday night game against the Bears, I mean, his overthrow of a guaranteed touchdown kind of sealed their fate. I mean, they made it up at the end, and they made it close. But, that was the game that was going to be tit for tat pretty much all the way through, and they missed their – well, I won't say the word because it won't – you know what I mean. He misses opportunity. You can't miss throws like that when you're getting paid that kind of money. Wide open throw against a good defense that typically doesn't have those kind of breakdowns, and when you miss it, you pay for it, and interceptions, and even though I think today they did beat the Dolphins to at least try to keep themselves in the playoff contention. Right. He had a pick 6 today too, and so that broke well. I mean, they get a few bounces here and there. Green Bay has got. They've always had Aaron Rodgers, but this year they kind of only had Aaron Rodgers, and even as good as he is, that ain't good enough. And so they took advantage of it, and Detroit ended up being the way Detroit, unfortunately for them, usually is. Well, I mean, we saw the game last Sunday night against the Rams. So, I mean, that has to give you some encouragement. But, of course, the game changes to L.A., as well as defense and the Bears fans travel. that game is going to be different. It's not going to be 15-6 in LA. Now the Bears may still win, but it's not going to be 15-6. If you're a Rams fan, you better hope Mr. Goff learns something like don't back up into the end zone and maybe move. And again, much like I referred to the Sunday night game against the Vikings, Cousins missing that throw. It's only one play, but that's a touchdown, and now you don't have it. There wasn't a whole lot of momentum in that game. It was field goal fest. You tried to do the New England double, right? Score before the half, score to start the half. No, instead you got the field goal to go into halftime tied, and then you're backed up in your end zone and you're giving up a safety right off the bat. Now you're just feed into everything. So that play was that game. Well, it's only 2 points, but that game was basically lost on that play. But those are the kind of things though that kind of the pressure that the Bears defense can bring. Creates those situations.
Right.
Now, again,
Danny, I beg to differ. Because I think if the Bears play the Rams again, I think the exact same thing happens again.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
McVay's too good of a coach to let that happen exactly the same way. They still might win,
and they have a very good football team. And I'm telling you, and I don't know if you guys heard any of the reports after the game and during the week. The Rams, they were ready to get out of town. It was, it's 23 degrees on the lakefront.
It wasn't.
They're not used to that.
But they oversold it too, and that's their fault. That's their fault.
No, we're not using that as an excuse.
No, it's not. It's not. No, Kelly. It's not an excuse. It's a reality. Think about it. You're a West Coast team. You're used to playing, in a warm climate, and you come. And I told you, I was in Vegas, and it was around 40, 45 degrees. Got close to 50 degrees. I get off the plane coming back home, and it's in almost single digits. It's like 15, 16 degrees. It
was mid-40s, 50s in Vegas, and they were wearing coats, and you're wearing flip-flops, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, it's cold. So, and you're talking about playing in Chicago, Sunday night, on the lakefront, 23 degrees. Those guys, they said in the pregame, normally the guys come out, they get kind of acclimated to the field and the climate and everything. They said that the Rams team, were running back to the locker room to get in there to warm up. It was a factor, and I believe, like Danny said, these two teams meet up again. In my mind, the Bears, it's going to be a long afternoon for them, and they're going to have to bring their hard hat, they're going to have to bring their lunch pail, and they're going to have to play 60 minutes of football because it's going to be a day of work out there for them if they meet up with this Rams team again.
Totally disagree. I think it's going to be the exact same thing. I think the Rams will score 9 points the next time the Bears play the Rams, because the Bears also have to play in that weather, and the defensive team on the road can beat teams on the road easily than an offensive team, because defense doesn't have to change. Defense is always going to be there, defending, being relentless, getting the touches, getting the interceptions, getting the sacks. That's what this team is led. This team is led by defense, not offense. That's why I think the Bears can beat the Rams and keep them the 6 or 9 points again. Because it wasn't about the cold. It was about Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson, all those guys. That's what it was about. And they're going to see those same guys that have been playing with L.A. They're going to see those same guys and they're going to think, oh, God, they did that to us in Chicago, but they're going to do it to us in L.A. The Bears already have the Rams by their mind, and I think they'll take them out again in the field if they meet in the playoffs.
Well, I guess you make a valid point to back up your argument or your statement, but when you talk about Jared Goff, you talk about Todd Gurley, you talk about Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods, as far as their skill position players are concerned and the weapons that they have on that football field. Remember this, Todd Gurley, how many yards did he get in that?
He only had a couple decent runs for first downs. That's about it.
He did not dominate where he's accustomed to dominating. Jared Goff did not play the type of football that he's accustomed to playing.
The quarterback play in that game was not nothing to write home about.
Not exactly.
They're still throwing picks.
Exactly. That
and
either side.
Either side. They didn't play the games. The reason they didn't play that way is because of the Chicago Bears defense. This defense is the best defense. We're going to say it right now. The best defense in the NFL. When Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and all those guys get on the ball, that's it. You are not going to score. Did you see the way they manhandled the Packers today? Nobody manhandled. I mean, it's still Aaron Rodgers back there doing his thing. Okay, they did the same thing to him in the first game that they did in this game. The only difference was the defense was ready for him and they didn't let him come all the way back. I like this team. I like this team in the Super Bowl, going to the Super Bowl this year.
Although the Packers did move the ball from time to time.
Right, they certainly did.
You get a little bit, again, like I said, things are breaking in their favor. That's neither an indictment of or an excuse or it's just things are going that way. I mean, you have a wide open guy in the end zone, but he happens to be a guy you're trying to get back into the game, throwing a pass in the end zone to a guy with a broken thumb, but bounce off of him. Eddie Jackson is the man on the spot, and thwarts that effort. Maybe it's a slightly different outcome. So, but you got to that ball could bounce and it could bounce someplace else, and you don't get the interception. They get another crack at it.
Right.
So you got to take advantage of those bounces that go your direction, and I'm just wondering because that comeback game, the first game, we got the whole season to make up for it, and just the fact that they had a game as disappointing as the ending was probably more than people expected going into the season, even with all the maneuvers and the new coach and everything. You probably didn't expect them to build that lead in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it still overall was more promising than detrimental, and certainly they obviously learned from it. Packers were a little worse off health-wise now, but I mean, and they're playing and the Bears had so much to play for and at home, but they certainly learned because as much as the Packers came back, their comeback was not the same.
It was not a traditional type of Packer comeback in Aaron Rodgers.
It's Aaron Rodgers,
right.
So you gotta give him his due with what he can do. But they didn't bow down. They did with, and plus again that first game too, you had a Khalil Mack who was limited. You look at the way the Bears, they've had 4 losses this year so far. You had 3 of those was Khalil Mack didn't play, or the first game he was limited because he only had a week to get into it, and the other one, Kelly's friend was the quarterback. So you factor that in, and it's the playing a certain way, and being as close to 100% health wise as you can. They certainly favorite or not favorite, home, away, offense, defense, whatever it is, whatever kind of team they're playing, whatever level of the playoffs they're at. If they're 100%, they certainly shouldn't go in feeling timid. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And I also want to point out the Los Angeles Rams. Most of their schedule has been beating up on cream puffs. Arizona Cardinals, 49ers. They haven't really played too much except for the Saints and the Chiefs. Yeah, they won those games, but barely. Okay, the Saints when it was a good game and they beat the Saints handily. But the Bears.
He was with him in Denver.
He was with Denver, yeah.
The Jets, Giants.
Yes, and the Dolphins. I mean, he's been around the league. And Jay Cutler, he was never a leader. I mean, the problem for that team was there was no leader. There was no leader on that team. No real clear leader. And Jay Cutler was sure as hell wasn't going to be it. But this team has a clear leader. I think Mitchell Trubisky is going to be that leader. I like this dude, man. I like what I see.
He's a different leader, though. I think he understands the responsibility, but it doesn't.
Mitchell Trubisky?
I think he understands the responsibility, but he isn't flippant about it. I think that was the issue with Cutler.
He's humble. He's humble as heck because he knows people are looking at him, and that he's like, oh, this guy hasn't started 20-something games. He's going to fall sometime, anytime now.
And he might, but he knows because.
Yeah, you could say he's the leader because he's the quarterback, but the best thing that he can do, and Matt Nagy has really worked well with him, is to just manage the offense. Just manage the offense. And the one thing I give to Mitchell Trubisky, which, I mean, we knew he had the ability, but his elusiveness, that he's able to escape. I mean, there were a couple times in this Packer game.
At least 5.
That I thought for sure he was done.
And on third down.
Yeah.
Not just.
He looks like Andrew Luck, Jerry. He looks like Andrew Luck.
I've never. Dude, this. It looks like he is the pocket is collapsing around him. It looks like he's about to get wrapped up, and then suddenly, this guy is able to avoid the tackle, avoid the hit, avoid the loss, and come up with a big gain. And I'm like, I am really, really impressed. You can do that maybe once or twice in a game. This guy, like you said, maybe 4 or 5 times he did this.
For the sake of the Bears and the fans, you hope he doesn't look like Andrew Luck in like 2 or 3 years because he's going to be in the hospital for 2 straight seasons. But you don't want to overdo it, but he doesn't do it when he can.
Danny, he learned his lesson by missing those 2 games, getting hit that time. He's not getting hit again. His butt's getting on the ground.
We'll see because the guys are licking their chops when they get. But that sometimes goes in his favor. Like I said, with Tariq Cohen and his elusiveness, they start getting frustrated and they get over aggressive, and then they just want to knock your head off. So, but your head, your legs, your arms, none of it is there to tackle anymore. So they might want to pop him, and either he's like Kelly's saying, he's a little more aware and maybe a little more careful. Like, let me get the yards I can get and get down. And he might start getting penalties called on the defense if they start getting over aggressive, or maybe he kind of does a half sort of fake like I'm going to dive, and then that guy is being so over aggressive, and he gets another 10 yards off the play. So he can kind of use that to his advantage, but in a smarter way. And it is a good sign that a guy who he has the experience he has, still even at this point minimal, despite improving.
And as far
he's learning.
Jerry, as far as you saying that Mr. Trubisky is a game manager, I have to disagree on that. This offense is one of the most difficult offenses to run because you got the run pass option in there. You got two tight ends. You got so many receivers. Anybody and everybody can be a receiver. Even offensive linemen can be a receiver in this thing. And the quarterback has to know all of that. And he has to scramble if he doesn't get anything done. And he learns more every single game. He hasn't played 30 professional football games yet, and he's already a division champion. I like this kid. I like this offense. This is going to be a fun year.
Yeah, I mean, now don't get me wrong, but I do know that as long as you stick with the system will work. If you stick with the system, it will work. And that was the difference between the Mitchell Trubisky that we see now compared to the Mitchell Trubisky we saw in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mitchell Trubisky, right. And again, leading the team almost in rushing and being one of the top leaders, quarterbacks in the league as a running quarterback. You don't want that from your guy. And we saw what happened in that Vikings game where at the end of the game he gets hurt and he's out for the couple weeks that he was out. It was the fact that, and he was growing, as you talk about, but it's the fact that Nagy pulled him aside and said, as long as you listen to me and follow the system, we will have success. That's all you have to do is manage this football team, the offensive side of the football, and we will have success. And again, I tell you, you talked about Robinson, but I truly believe that little spark plug, that little human joystick, Tariq Cohen, really bailed out a lot of mistakes or miscues that Mitchell Trubisky had not managing the offense. That Tariq Cohen, and we all scratched our head early on too of him. You talk about misdirection, running one direction and then doing a 180-degree turn and then coming back the other way for a big gain. And we see the big run here by Mitchell Trubisky using his legs. But Tariq Cohen has bailed out Mitchell Trubisky more times than not.
And he's probably a safer valve than you running each time.
Exactly.
Exactly. True that. Tariq Cohen's a great player. Yes, he's one of the MVPs. But we knew what he could do. He was there last year. We had no clue what Allen Robinson could do because we didn't know if he was going to be healthy enough. His problem was health and being on the field. And his health is fine now. He's been on the field plenty, and he's helped this offense get to where it has needed to be. Tariq Cohen, yes, Tariq was going to be Tariq, do his Tariq things because he's a great player. But the X factor was Allen Robinson.
And here's where luck or I don't know, which is it? Did they really? How much did they investigate him to check in his health? It says, is this guy really gonna be here for a long haul, or is it just going to be we can get him somewhat on the cheap because of his recent history,
right.
and then just hope.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the gray area. They did get a little lucky in the fact they didn't get hurt, or maybe they did their homework a little bit. It says we're not just taking a flyer 50-50 on this one and hope and pray. We're at least 75-25 that this guy is going to be valuable to us and be available to us.
Yeah.
I can catch the damn ball,
yeah.
Which again. You got was it Bill Bellamy, Ralph Bellamy? What the hell was his name?
Josh Bellamy.
Okay,
but that's Keyshawn Johnson. Throw me the damn ball.
Well, we were saying this last year because he would have so many gimme passes the previous couple years. It's like if you threw within his body, for some reason he needed that comfort of bringing it into his body. But dude, your body's covered in plastic armor. The ball bounces off. But you saw the catch he made today. And even in the past, he was able to make catches when he had to reach for them, when he was forced to use his hands. Right. Instead of like, I want to catch it into my chest, I want to bring it. No, it doesn't work that way. You have gloves on your hands. Your hands are softer. Your chest, plus with the padding on it, it doesn't work that way with a pointed ball coming at you on a line. You're not going to catch it. But when you would make
Tell
these
us how you
catches,
really feel, Danny.
but diving full out, and you're watching it just as a layperson, like how the hell does he catch his ball when he's diving full out? And he got one right between the 1 and the 5, and it freaking bounces all over the place because he didn't use his hands.
Right.
He's forced to when he's stretched out, and he catches the ball. He covered the one punt, and he's doing this crossover between the leg thing, his little basketball thing, which I mean, just the ball fell in your hands, but whatever.
Right.
Anytime the ball touches his hands, it doesn't fly someplace else. It's a positive. And then a few minutes later, he makes another great catch, I think, for a first down. It's like, how is this? You gotta use your hands. Now,
Right.
if you could do that when the ball's right in front of him. But, they put him in a position, we need a few extra receivers, we're going to throw you out there, and we might hit you with the ball. Please catch it.
Right.
You put
That's
him on
it.
special teams, he gets a little confidence that he covers a punt, and it feeds off into itself. And I think they're better positioned because doesn't have to be the feature guy, but they're giving him his opportunities in other phases of the game to get his confidence somewhere better.
Right. You know what? And it's interesting. That's Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, and on our TRS60 hotline, he is the one, the only Kelly Lee Williams. I do have to give, and we're going to continue to go commercial free. If you want to join in, give us a ring, 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. I got to give kudos to the Bears strength and conditioning coaches as well, because, again, being probably the healthiest team in the National Football League as we get ready to close out the regular season. And again, congratulations to the Bears on advancing to the NFC, division winners in the NFC North Division, and of course advancing to the playoffs. But the strength and conditioning coaches of this Bears football team, they're under the radar, but they have done an excellent job of keeping these guys healthy and getting out there and play, whether it's Khalil Mack with the ankle, whether it's Trubisky with the shoulder, and we all question, how severe that shoulder injury was. But at Kyle Long, as far as the foot is concerned, I think these guys overall has done an exceptional job keeping this team healthy and out on the football field. Because we remember over the past few years, whether it's Trestman or Fox, how many guys for the Bears just in the season went on IR. I think there was one year they had between 30 and 40 guys placed on injured reserve.
They had more guys on IR than they had takeaways.
Exactly. They certainly did. And so I think that goes a long, long way, and that's a part of the contribution in winning 10 games on this season. 10-4 are Chicago Bears, winners over the Green Bay Packers over at Soldier Field. Looking forward to closing out the season strong and seeing what happens in the playoffs. Now, I guess the question that we can ask, and we'll start with you, Kelly Lee Williams, on our hotline. And I think you've expressed it passionately throughout the weeks and, of course, during this show. But, again, you think this Bear football team not only can make some noise in the playoffs, but you actually believe that they can advance to the Super Bowl?
I'm looking at this team. I'm looking at the growth of the quarterback, Trubisky. I'm looking at the progression of this offense and how when they make mistakes, the defense covers for those mistakes. I'm looking at how Vic Fangio has this defense running like a drum, running like nothing's going to get through because we don't want it to get through. And if it gets through, then it's an accident. We're just going to keep on pumping until you get this win. I'm looking at a team that can go to the Super Bowl and go up against any high-powered offense, like either the Rams or the Rams and the Saints of the NFC, or the Chiefs and the Patriots in the AFC. Bears got a chance to win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I mean, that's, again, the Rams, they're not going away.
Well, here
They're not going away.
They already beat them. They're not scared.
The only thing,
the Rams don't know what they're going to see in the Bears offense either.
The Bears might not know what they see in their offense with the way Nagy's been calling it.
Right,
So
exactly.
you just wonder if he tells them, "Don't worry about it. We'll work on stuff during the week, but I'm not going to tell you." Oh, I'm sure they work on it. They talked about it after last week's offensive lineman, defensive lineman. How many different ways can you report eligible? That's what I want to know. Do you tell the referee? I got the one guy that he's doing the Simon Says, patting his head up in his belly. I don't know what the hell's going on.
What are you doing, man? You got mitts?
Do you need is a note from the special dispensation from the Pope and a note from Juan Epstein's mother? Is that good enough to report eligible? I mean, what be that as it may, I have to add with this NFC playoff picture at this point. I mean, I kind of, because the Bears already beat the Rams, and I do think that we'll be different in LA. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears would be able to beat them. There's really only one really even though the Rams made the playoffs last year, there's really only one established team if you look at it, and that's the Saints, because they got a coach that's been there forever. They've won a Super Bowl. They got a quarterback that's don't really have the vote. He's just give him the yellow jacket. It's just gonna happen.
Right.
So that's really the only established team, and they're likely to have home field throughout. So, other than the Saints, I wouldn't be surprised about anyone else joining them in that NFC Championship game.
Well, the Saints, there's no question about it. But Dallas defense is one of the top 5 defenses,
and that's what makes it even more wide open. You had the Bears stop the Rams. You had the Cowboys stop the Saints.
Right, and and those are 4 prominent playoff teams. That's going to make some noise at the end of the day. Do we have a running game like Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott? I mean,
not the same.
Jordan Howard is, over the past 3 years, his numbers are as equivalent to Ezekiel, and
they're using him a little more last couple of weeks, and
to
some good results.
Right, Their defense, again in that Saints game, their defense stepped up and shot down Drew Brees and those guys, and Ezekiel Elliott, offensively, you talk about managing the offense. He ran the rock and kept the clock rolling. And they come away with the upset.
But I'm even talking about the Bears. I mean, the last few weeks, Jordan Howard's actually been a little more prominent.
They put the ball in his hands. Again,
if you're going to really be unpredictable, you got to use everybody.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to do it old school and give it to the horse, and do your thing.
They put the ball in the running back's hands because they don't want Trubisky throwing too much with that arm. He's still sore, I'm sure. So they needed to balance that offense out. That's a good thing, because now it's even more unpredictable.
Yeah, true. But I mean, if it doesn't work, then it's no good. If he's able to he got several good runs today. I mean, he was able to, the guys blocked for him. He was able to get through and keep that, keep Mitchell safe, keep the ball moving, keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. That's all part of the plan. You need some big plays and you need some possession.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just replace the name. Replace the name Aaron Rodgers with Drew Brees, with Jared Goff, with Mahomes, with Brady. Keep the quarterbacks off the field, and that's how you win the game.
But those guys, and the Packers don't have the type of weapons that they've had in the past. Hence, that's why Aaron Rodgers owned the Chicago Bears. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers still got the football down the field. And when it comes to playoff time, playoff experience is very, very important. There's no question about it. And you mentioned those guys, and most of the guys that you mentioned, they have Super Bowl / playoff experience. And
Mahomes doesn't.
With the exception, I said most of the guys, with the exception of Mahomes, but Andy Reid, he's no slouch. And again, what Mahomes can do, I got into a discussion with someone about Mahomes' play, and he goes, I don't think the kid's that good. I go, are you kidding me? I go, you need to seriously sit down and watch him play, because he said that? A buddy of mine at church. I said, you have to really sit down and watch this kid play, because he's unbelievable.
Wait, how much of the wine did he have?
Did you slap him in his face?
No, I didn't. We were at church, so I couldn't do it.
Yes, you could have. Yes, you could have. You could have slapped him when he said it, Jerry. You missed the opportunity to slap a human being with good cause.
Well, you could have just.
That's the thing I ever heard.
You could have just told the priest I thought he was possessed.
Yeah, exactly. The power of Christ compels you.
I heard he had pea soup last night, and I wasn't gonna have that. So I had to give him one.
Dude, I was kind of surprised and taken back by the comment, but that's the one. That's the other question mark regarding this Bears football team. The defense certainly can carry it. There's no question about it. But and we saw what happened when the Bears went to the Super Bowl in 2006 under Lovie Smith. How Rex Grossman was.
Who?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, the defense was phenomenal, but he kind of jumped on the trolley and said, "Hey, I'm riding this train to the Super Bowl." They got there despite his poor, lackluster performance. I think the same, and I give a little bit of edge to Trubisky as far as skill level is concerned and game management.
Well, does he have any fumble snaps this year?
Who? Trubisky?
Yeah.
Of course he does.
Well, how many?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but yeah.
Half the snaps that Grossman took looked like he was playing with the soap in the shower.
Take it easy.
Not that a single.
This is a family show, Danny.
A single shower, not a communal one, sir. In the state, I know the stadium is owned by the state, but not a different state institution. I'm not referring to that.
Kelly Lee Williams, Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion. We're going to take a short time out here, folks, and when we come back, we'll
30-second or full?
Oh, full. Okay. We'll get the marvelous one, Danny, Marvelous Marver on the hotline. Kelly, you going to stay with us?
Yes, I am. And I just wanted to say, bye, Packers. That's all.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's Kelly Lee Williams. And, of course, Danny Carlino, the Italian Style. We're going to take a short time out with our whistle and come on back with the marvelous one, Dan Marvelous Marver. You're watching, you're listening to the Rewind Sports 60, broadcasting from the world's famous Serenello's Restaurant, the Italiano, right here in the heart of Wheeling. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked in. The Bears, NFC North Division champion. Here come the playoffs. You got the Rewind. Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60, the Bears post-game podcast here, broadcasting from the world's famous Serenello's Restaurant, the Italiano, right in the heart of Wheeling. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, the Italian Stallion, DC, Danny Carlino, and we're pleased to be joined on our hotline by the one, the only, he's Kelly Lee Williams! And, of course, joining us on the hotline as well, Gabe Salgado, our contributor, TRS60 contributor and supporter of the best damn sports show in the city of Chicago. Gabe Salgado, how are you? Thanks for joining us, man.
Gentlemen, praise the Lord. We have finally exorcised the demon that is the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, Lord be praised.
Gabe, your thoughts on what happened at Soldier Field?
You know, I did get a little bit concerned in the third quarter when Green Bay had that scoring drive to tie the game. The Bears defense did look fatigued in that particular drive, and probably for a good chunk of the third quarter, it looked like they kind of ran out of gas a little bit, but then they found that second wind on both sides of the ball. It did help that they did, get a pass rush. For once, they sacked Aaron Rodgers more than twice. That hasn't happened in at least a couple seasons that I can remember. And not to mention the fact that some penalties by Green Bay late in the game also helped. But, I had a little bit of concern there in halfway through that third quarter, but the Bears eventually found their second win and got it together, and now we're in the playoffs.
No, you know what? And congratulations again to the entire staff. Matt Nagy, the coaching staff, Vic Fangio was very instrumental. But congratulations to the Bears. And, the conversation has been, can this football team advance not only to the NFC Championship title game, Gabe, but can they advance to the playoffs?
I would like to see them, go all the way, but, let's take one step at a time here. I know it's been easy for us to say that, especially with, you take a look at all they've accomplished this year. They swept the season series with Minnesota. They beat the Rams at home, held the second best offense to 6 points, and now they won the division. I mean, it's great to see, but, let's take it one step at a time because this is still Matt Nagy's first season. He's still, putting some pieces together in some aspects. He's still rotating guys, and let's not forget there's some players on this team who have been somewhat inconsistent all year, like Leonard Floyd. It was good to see him sack Aaron Rodgers today, but for I want to say probably a good chunk of the season, you haven't really heard his name all that much. Remember Khalil Mack, missed those couple of games with the bum ankle, and when he tried to play on the bum ankle, he was ineffective. And let's not forget Mitchell Trubisky also kind of gave us a scare with that shoulder injury in November. So I think that there's still some, kinks to be worked out with this team. So, let's enjoy the moment and let's not get too high on the expectations for this team here, just to keep taking it one step at a time.
Yeah, I told
Gabe Salgado. I'm sorry, brother.
No, go ahead, Kelly.
Gabe Salgado, good to hear you, brother. You know
You
what?
too, Kelly.
I'm going to disagree with you. Do you know why? 4 names.
I think Kelly just
Four
like to
names.
disagree.
He just wanted to be equal to everybody. He's disagreed with everybody so far.
Yeah, no. I mean, I hear what he's saying, but I'm talking about this Bears defense right now. 4 names: Trevathan, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and the fourth, the other linebacker, the new one, Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Did you see when they put Roquan Smith and Khalil Mack on one side? There's nothing you can do if you put both of those guys on one side and they're rushing the passer. They are not. These guys are looking to be a historic defense. These guys know that they're better than top 10. They're better than top 5. They know right now that they're the best defense in the NFL. And I believe they're going to continue to act like that. And even the players that come in every once in a while, the utility players, they're making plays too. Vic Fangio has got this defense to where it needs to be at the right time of the season with 2 games left to go in the regular season. This team is ready to go. But now on the other side, the Saints got beat up pretty good by the Cowboys. And the Rams got beat pretty good up by who? The Bears. So I'm looking right now
at the Bears winning at least the NFC. The NFC title.
All right, cool. Gabe, your response to Kelly.
I appreciate Kelly's optimism, but again, how many times have we seen the Bears? And nothing against the Bears. They worked hard. They deserve to be where they're at, but I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket just yet. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's get past the first playoff game. More than likely, they probably will finish as the third seed, and probably have to play a wild card game. I would hope it could be a home game, considering they won the division, but we still have a couple weeks to go to see how the rest of the playoffs are going to shape out here. But let's get past that first playoff game and we'll go from there. I appreciate Kelly's optimism and I love the fact that he's thinking so highly on the Bears right now, when coming out of the preseason he wasn't too sure what to think. But like I said, it's great that they won the division, but let's just take it game by game here. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket just yet.
Hold your thought there. We're pleased to be joined by the man on the hour, the man on the street. Marty-B is in the house. What's up, Marty?
Oh, well, good afternoon, Jerry and Danny. A lot is up.
So you got a chance to check out the game. What did you think of how the Bears got through today?
I agree with Ed O'Bradovich. He was full of compliments for the staff and, of course, our players. But we got into a few things about Mitch Trubisky. He is a work in progress. And when we put all of those eggs in one basket and all those draft picks, there are some things that I'm sure he will work out in time, and he'll be very effective and a very good, steady game manager as the seasons progress. But let's just hope now that, to a degree, we can kind of play within ourselves here and advance and go a long way in the playoffs.
Yeah, and we're talking about a lot of health and stuff like that. Shortly after the game, I saw a report about some issue with Eddie Jackson's right ankle. He's got a sprain. They're going to wait next day or two to kind of confirm the severity of that, if so. And I just wonder now, with the division clinched and pretty much their seeding, they're more than likely, decided. Is this going to be preseason number 2? Like keep the guys low, let them play half a game, stuff like that. Right. How much are they going to pull back on the reins to make sure that they get in there as healthy as possible? Because everything is magnified so much more. One and done. That's a lot different than as much as he likes to risk things with some of the goofy play calls and going for it and fake punts and things of that nature.
Yeah.
When you have all the work you've done since he got the job, basically writing on those decisions, I think it becomes a little more difficult.
He's Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion. Yours truly, Jerry Riles. Marty-B, the man on the street, joining us at Serenello's Restaurante on their TRS60 hotline. We got Kelly Lee Williams, Gabe Salgado, and of course, we're pleased to be joined. I tell you, it's a hotline jumping, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a party line.
The marvelous one, exactly. We're having a party. The Bears celebrate their division championship, their division NFC North Division title by knocking off the Green Bay Packers over at Soldier Field, the first time since 2010 that the Bears have advanced to postseason play. We're pleased to be joined by the marvelous one, Dan Marver, on the hotline. Dan, how are you?
You got me. I'm here.
Hey.
And as Russ Musburger would say, I'm speaking to you live from Illinois State University.
Marvelous one. Say hello to... Say hello.
What a game, too, down here. You had a great game. And I followed the whole game and the final Bears home game, but they have another one January 5th or 6th. How exciting. And they're all thrilled down here at Illinois State, too, particularly since Illinois State beat Cleveland State in overtime.
Ooh, what a ball game.
What a ball game indeed. Say hello to Gabe Salgado and, of course, Kelly Lee Williams on our hotline, Danny Carlino, and Marty-B, the man on the street.
Danny, how are you guys? Wow, the technology is amazing.
It's unbelievable. I tell you, it's unbelievable.
When it works.
Yeah.
Then we love it.
And that's the key phrase, when it works. That's for sure. Marvelous one. We're celebrating the Bears' victory. Good. I know sooner or later on tonight, that the PBR definitely is going to be flowing all over Chicago. Marvelous. What do you think of the Bears' victory and their hopes for the playoffs coming up?
It's very exciting. I mean, it's been since 2010, right?
Yes,
since
sir.
They got in, and first time they beat Green Bay at home since 2010, and it was just a marvelous achievement. I mean, this coach Nagy has really turned things around. It's just amazing, and the defense has really been spectacular.
It's fantastic for sure. Kelly Lee Williams believed that this Chicago Bears football team, gentlemen, can definitely take the NFC title and advance to the Super Bowl. And Kelly, I probably believe they can win the whole damn thing. What do you guys think? Marvelous, you first.
Well, I think that they, in the NFC, they've already proven they can hang with the Rams and beat them, and that was amazing. I mean, who would have thought 15-6? I mean, such a low-scoring game. Nobody would have predicted that. And then there's New Orleans, and you have to take it, like they say, one game at a time. And they're going to have to face somebody like Seattle or Minnesota or whoever. Doesn't matter. They just got to take care of business. Like Trubisky says, every game's 1-0, and he likes playing with his brothers.
Well, he's got to be politically correct every time he steps in front of the media, because his brothers are carrying him for sure, in my opinion. Marty-B, can this team make it to the Super Bowl, and if so, can they win it this year?
No, love to see that happen, but I don't see any team getting out of New Orleans other than the Saints.
I like that. One reason being is the fact that they're playing in that dome, and we talk about the Chicago Bear fans, and Matt Nagy say, hey, I want to bring the Monsters of the Midway back to the Chicago fans and let them go. And the Rams game and this game against the Packers, they have been very, very loud and very, very boisterous. But when you talk about going up against the Saints down at the what is it called again? The Mercedes-Benz
Superdome. Yeah.
Boom!
Oh, that's what they call it now.
When you talk about playing the Saints in that place, and you talk about a Hall of Fame coach, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and a pretty good football team, to me it'd be very, very difficult for the Bears to walk out of there with a W.
I mean, it's tough for anyone.
I'm glad Marty brought up that point about playing the Saints in the Dome. I would also feel the same way if the Bears had to go to the Coliseum to play the Rams, because they haven't lost a game at home this year. Their losses have been on the road, so they've been very tough to play against when they're the home team. So I would definitely have to agree with Marty on that point as far as having to go to either New Orleans or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Dave, Dave, good afternoon. We sure miss you in person. I hope that you and Kelly will be able to be back with us real soon. But in conjunction with what you were mentioning, I look at it this way. The Bears, if they play the Rams out in L.A., that will be a different Ram team.
Right.
And so whoever we play other than the Rams in L.A. or possibly the Saints in New Orleans, we'll have a win.
It's a better opportunity for the Bears to advance. The percentages are in their favor if we face anybody else as opposed to those two teams. I agree with you.
And with likely opponents coming up in their first game, they're gonna be at home hosting a wild card team. They already beat the Vikings at home, and the Vikings fans have already abandoned the Vikings, I believe, at this point, even though they still have a very good opportunity. And even though the Bears did beat Seattle in what ended up being a close game at the end, they had control of it for the most part. Seattle, Mitch didn't have one of his best games in that contest, but Seattle just couldn't capitalize on a couple picks in the first half. Seattle's a very different team than they were back then.
That's exactly right.
They're much improved now. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be improved enough to make a difference from whatever week 2. But
Right.
it's going to be a tougher test. Seattle's going to be a tougher test
Right.
for the Bears if that's their opponent.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson isn't the Russell Wilson of
I know the Cowboys don't want to play him.
No, but he's not the Russell Wilson of the Super Bowl.
No. And he doesn't have all the same weapons, and the defense is.
But he's
definitely
still.
different.
And we talked about Tom Brady. We talked about Aaron Rodgers, although they're not going to the playoffs. We talk about Drew Brees. We talk about Super Bowl caliber, playoff caliber quarterbacks, and Russell Wilson can be a deciding factor. But again, the Bears defense, Kelly has been blowing the horn for them all season long, and in particular the past few weeks. The Bears defense, and when they played Seattle, they made Russell Wilson look human, so to speak. So, but again, it's the playoffs. You just don't know. You just don't know. And to me, again, health is very important for the Chicago Bears, and they're the healthiest team right now. But coaching, managing the clock, and talk about clock, playing 60 minutes of football is going to be very, very key as far as this Bears moving forward in the playoffs, in my opinion. Gentlemen, we are up against the clock. We're broadcasting from Ciaranello's Ristorante Italiano here in the heart of Wheeling. So we got a lot of celebration going on. Happy holidays to all of you out there celebrating, for sure. But Marty-B, the man on the street, what do you have that you can share with the class that you found out on the street?
Oh my gosh! Yes, well, course, I should ask our producer, what are our time constraints right now? How much time do we have?
Very constrained.
We're very constrained, huh?
Yeah.
Well, then I'll have to, I'm just going to run over the football real quick. I love these college bowl games, but that's not the most important.
Can you remember their
message
names?
I have to get to. Oh, my God.
Can you
there are
spell
so
them
many.
even if I give them to you? Boy, oh boy.
I'm just going to do a quick rundown on that, but then I want to get into something much more important for our traveling business people this week. Quick, bowl games. Yeah, North Carolina A&T knocked off Elkhorn State. Tulane, my gosh, they beat their arch rival in state, Louisiana, in kind of a one-sided game. So the Green Wave, Tulane, ended up with a 7-6 finish for their season and a very convincing victory. That was an exciting one. I spent the day in and out catching bits and pieces of these games whenever I could. The Red Wave, not the Green Wave, but the Red Wave of Fresno State, they had a huge win over Arizona State, and we all remember Coach Herman Edwards when he left the broadcast booth and went back into the college game. Herman did not look happy yesterday.
No.
No, that was a tough win for him, a tough loss for him.
Well, you know what they say? They play to win the game, but it doesn't always happen.
You play to win the game.
I love that guy. He's the only guy on ESPN I could stand at a certain point.
And, of course, for our listening audience, Valdosta State, they outscored Ferris State. That was kind of a fun game. I had a chance to watch the very, very end of it. It was, Valdosta State had that 49 to 41 lead. This was a Division II football championship game. And after a late score, gosh, Ferris needed a successful 2-point conversion to send that game into overtime, and the quarterback rolled to the right, and he just overthrew the receiver by a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how that ended. In the New Mexico State Bowl, Utah State was all over Texas State, just a very lopsided score. In another NCAA FCS championship semifinal, this was a fun one to watch. The Eastern Washington Eagles defeated the Maine Black Bears 50-19, very one-sided. After Maine the week before played a very convincing game of their abilities and knocked off Weber State in a very close score earlier in the playoffs. But what was so impressive about this game, I have a feeling somebody's going to be looking at this Eagles quarterback, Eric Barriere. He was in total command of the Eagles offense, very precision. He was 18 for 24, 254 yards, and threw for 5 TDs. But I just like the way he managed the team and his presence on the field. Very noticeable. Somebody's going to be looking.
Well, not to burst your bubble there, Marty. Let's not forget North Dakota State's still going strong too. That's going to be a hard team to beat down the line.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a very challenging game. Yeah. And I look forward to watching that one. I hope that one will be covered on some network next week.
They're perennial there on the FCS, aren't they?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's going to be on ESPN.
Oh, good.
On January 8th, 7th.
Oh, that's not until January 7th, huh?
Right. At Frisco, yeah. I've seen North Dakota State, the stick at quarterback might be as good as Wentz. I'm not kidding.
Ooh.
For North Dakota State.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he's pretty good.
Quarterback. Yeah.
Well, I'll be, thanks for that, the heads up there. I'll be certainly watching that. In the Raycom, this was a great game, probably the best of the day. In the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl at Crampton Stadium in Montgomery, Alabama, on a very rainy day, the Georgia Southern Eagles finished, of course, their season 11-3 with yesterday's win, and they defeated the Eastern Michigan Eagles. I've always been a fan of Eastern Michigan. In a real thriller, 23-21 on the last-second field goal. And here are some of the stories about this game. Tyler Bass, he is the kicker for the Georgia Southern Eagles. He wins the game on a 40-yard field goal as the time expired. That was exciting enough in itself.
I tell you, I thought the Eagles were like an endangered species or something like that. That's also all Eagles in football, you know? I guess I got to look at college football to find them all.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of Eagles playing yesterday. Yeah, this was Georgia Southern's second ever bowl appearance. That was special. Now, one thing, I did catch one great play for Eastern Michigan. Their wide receiver, I forget his first name, but his last name was Jackson. He made one of the most acrobatic catches I have ever seen on a throw from his quarterback glass for the third score. And boy, at that point in time, it looked real good for Eastern Michigan. Now, this is interesting. Georgia Southern, their running back, Shea Wertz, fans, had 16 carries for 79 yards, 2 TDs. But what was most instrumental was his last run of the game. A big gainer, first down, that set up the winning field goal. Now, let's digress for a moment and talk about the first-year head coach. What an emotional, a guy, Danny and Jerry, Dave, Kelly, Dan, he's the kind of a guy that I'd want to have a beer with.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Who's buying? Your hospitality. You go. I know
I'm
you always spring for the
I
first
always
one.
pick up the tab.
Yes.
Chad Lunsford. Oh, what an emotional, what a likable guy. He took them last year. This football team was 2-10 in 2017, and with yesterday's win, they finished 11-3 for 2018. He was thrilled with his team. He did mention he was a little disappointed with some of their silly penalties in the second half, but it didn't put a damper on how proud and the glow on his face. So it was the 11th win. They tied the most wins ever for a Georgia Southern football team.
Hey, Marty, we're short on time. The fine folks here at Serenolo's Ristorante Italiano are busy with the holiday banquets and parties that's taking place. So we're limited on our Chicago Bears post-game podcast. You guys, we can get some final thoughts on, again, the Bears winning the NFC North Division title, advancing to the playoffs for the first time since 2010. And the hopes, many of us are hoping, and you never know with the parity in the National Football League these days and the nip and tuck games going down to the wire, anything's possible. And we haven't been to the Super Bowl since 2006. Can this Bears football team advance? Guys, closing thoughts on the Chicago Bears season and their run to the playoffs. Danny, we start with you first. Carlino?
I'll just say, like I said a few minutes ago, I'll just be interested looking now that everything's mostly settled, how they approach these last couple of weeks. Do they try and hope that the other teams ahead of them falter and they push and see maybe the outside chance of getting a bye, or do they just say, like, third's good enough, and how they approach that workload-wise and personnel-wise, and how that affects them when they do get in that playoffs in that first game.
Marvelous one. Stay with the Dans. Dan, Marvelous Marver, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think they have an excellent chance to get to the NFC Championship. I just don't feel strongly that they'll win the Super Bowl this year, but I hope I'm wrong. But anything's possible.
Anything certainly is possible. Kelly Lee Williams, your thoughts? Kelly Lee Williams.
I think we lost him.
Gabe Salgado, your thoughts?
Aside from, just taking it one game at a time and not overthinking things, let's also keep everybody healthy. If we got everybody healthy, we definitely have a chance to push forward in the postseason. So health is going to be key down the stretch.
Marty-B, the man on the street.
Jerry, fellas, you cover the Bears just great. I've got to say this. I'm remiss. If we had more time, I'm very, very disappointed that I could not cover some successful strategies for successful business people traveling this very hectic week before business, before the holidays. But I'll leave you with just a couple of thoughts. Pack only what you need. Check in online when you can. Be prepared for things to go wrong. And most importantly, folks, carry some cash.
Carry some cash
and
with
bring
you.
something to
Amen
read.
to that.
There you go.
And a pillow.
On behalf of everyone here at Serenolo's Ristorante Italiano, Dan Marvelous Marver, Gabe Salgado, Kelly Lee Williams on our TRS60 hotline, and of course here at the restaurant, Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion, Marty-B, the man on the street, Jerry Riles. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. If you missed any portion of the broadcast, check us out on the website, therewindsport60.com, therewindsport60.com. You can also catch us on Comcast Access every Wednesday, 7 p.m. in Lake County, Channel 17, in Cook County, the northern suburbs, Channel 19 and Channel 35. You've been listening to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the week, and we'll see you next time from Serenolo's Ristorante Italiano. Happy holidays, and go Bears!